Howdy. So, today I'm going to talk about Independence Day Resurgence. This is a movie review. I'll try to keep spoilers at a minimum, but I got to tell you, I enjoyed this movie a lot. Of course I did. You know, there are movies that you just know you're going to enjoy regardless. And back in 1996, when this movie came out, I knew for a year it was coming and I knew I was going to enjoy it, and I did. And it's been an interesting season so far, movie season this year, because I knew the Avengers movie was coming out and I wanted to see that. I know the Star Trek movie is coming out and I want to see that. And I'm a big Star Trek guy, but the movie I really wanted to see was this one. And the reason being, just to give you a little personal history with this, this is probably now moved into being my favorite movie. I think I've seen this movie more than any other movie ever. And it really got to be a big movie for me on September 14th, 2001, which sounds really strange, but I can document it because everyone knows by now, of course, well, we had the Twin Towers that got hit by the two airplanes on September 11th. And I actually saw the second one live on TV. I didn't see the first one. I was up. And my mother called and said, a plane just hit the World Trade Center. And I said, wow, really? So I turned on the news and I said, oh, wow, they're showing it again. She says, no, that's a second plane. And that was just freaky. And I'll tell you the truth. I didn't go to bed. I didn't go to sleep for 3 days. I just couldn't. I was so depressed. I wanted to jump into the car and drive to New York City. I'm a little over 5.5 hours away. I just started my own business 3 months earlier, so I wasn't tied to a paycheck or anything. And my wife and I had talked about it. She worked at the hospital at the time locally, and it was the VA hospital, so they were on alert, because you never knew how many people there could possibly be. And we decided it wasn't smart for me trying to get into New York City when there were so many people trying to get out of New York City. So I didn't go. But for, almost 72 hours, I just kept flipping the channels. Actually, it was more than 72 hours. I just kept flipping channels and looking for something new, and I couldn't break away from it. And the only reason that I was able to ever eat and go to the bathroom is because even the news people took breaks every once in a while. And that's when I would go grab something to eat or go to the bathroom. But I did not go to bed. For all that time, I basically sat looking at the TV and switching channels. And it got to that third night. And I said, okay, I need something to get me to stop. And so what I did, of all things, I went and grabbed Independence Day and I put it in the DVD player, and I went to the scene where the President Whitmore at the time, gave that speech. Everyone knows the speech. If you ever saw the first movie, you saw the speech. And I just watched that speech over and over and over again. Of all the weirdest things, it made me feel better. And I was able to break away from the TV and basically get on with life. And it sounds strange, that you needed something like that or that I needed something like that, but I did. That's why this movie means a lot to me, or this, at least the first movie. So I don't have those kind of things going on right now. I hope we don't have any kind of disasters where I'm going to need to go back to another movie to look for another speech to get me out of my funk. But this is the movie I really, really wanted to see this year. And I'm going to tell you, I had a great time. As you saw earlier, I saw it in IMAX 3D. The sound was wow. The sound was just amazing, considering that's not the theater that was supposed to have the best sound. And watching it in 3D was wild. And I'll tell you the truth, we sat in seats we weren't supposed to be sitting in. My friend bought seats that would have put us in the fourth row of the theater. Can you imagine watching an IMAX movie in the fourth row? Would have killed my senses. So we took a chance and sat way further back. We actually went on a Thursday night. It opened up around 8 o'clock instead of waiting. So I'm doing this a couple of days later, but that's okay. I had to wait. And it was marvelous. So here's the details. Basically, the planet has been at peace for 20 years, and I mean total peace. All world issues have been eliminated. They've been putting together all this technology to try to protect themselves because they knew that the aliens were coming back. They didn't think that this was the whole thing. and it turns out the aliens were coming back. But there's a secondary story where there's this other alien race that shows up. So not only do we now know that there are aliens in the universe, we now know there are at least 2 alien races. How about that? And so we have basically this kid, Liam Hemsworth, who's the brother of Chris Hemsworth, who plays Thor in the Avengers. And I didn't even know who he was. I mean, okay, I'm an old guy. I don't know who everybody is. That's just how it is. But he basically plays a guy who I guess he was a fighter pilot along with, I'm going to mess up on names a lot here. Dylan Hiller, who was played by Jesse T. Usher. And they got into some kind of thing where Liam Hemsworth character, whose name is Jake Morrison, does something that puts the other one at risk of losing his life. So he's kind of demoted to working on the moon. Really, you're working on the moon. Today that would be kind of fascinating, but I guess if you fought aliens, working on the moon is no big deal. But now he's working on the moon, kind of, in the support role, when here comes trouble. The first thing is this big thing shows up. It's kind of this spear. And the new president, played by Sela Ward, decides we're going to blow it up. And so they do. They take this shot and they blow it up. And, Jeff Goldblum's character, and you guys remember him, David Levinson, he's now basically, he's a kind of a bigwig in charge of security and protection, all this other kind of stuff. He gets to use all that science stuff that he learned at MIT. And he recommended not doing it. And he recommended not doing it because he said it didn't look right. It didn't feel right. And he and this lady whose name is Charlotte Gainsborough, and in the movie her name is Catherine Marceau, and she's some kind of psychologist, and she's been going around the world talking to these different peoples who all seem to be drawing this same thing that they're kind of envisioning. Different people are envisioning it. And it turns out that the people seeing it are linked to the aliens who were here before. Y'all remember how in the first movie, Brent Spiner's character, who's called Dr. Brackish Oaken, remember how the thing wrapped around his neck and he was linked? Well, it turns out there's still aliens. There's aliens on the planet. They're scattered, and they're fighting for their lives and doing whatever they can to survive, which I've always thought for 20 years that had to happen. They couldn't have all died. Sure enough, they didn't all die. So some of them have been fighting for their lives. And so he says don't do it. They blow it up anyway. And then something bigger shows up. And it's the real aliens, the one that we want to fight. And, they try to stop them on the moon. They can't stop them on the moon. They come back to Earth. They really can't stop them. And you know what? That's about as much spoiler as I'm going to give you for what ends up happening for the rest of the movie as far as, everything else. We'll just say that it went a direction that I should have predicted, but I didn't predict it. And then it had its funny stuff and whatever. So let's talk about some of these characters. Jeff Goldblum, once again, was just fantastic in this movie. He really is. This Jesse T. Usher, I'll tell you what. You didn't need Will Smith because he was just like Will Smith. And I think he's going to be great. Liam Hemsworth, he was really good in this. You wouldn't know he was Australian. And he was really good. There was another new character. I'm trying to find, what was her name? Oh, goodness. Whitmore. Maika Monroe. You know what? I don't know if I said that right or not. But she plays former president's daughter. Y'all remember the little girl from the first movie? Well, I guess they decided not to bring her back, so they brought someone else back. She's a bit sultry, I will tell you. You're not necessarily thinking that a former president's daughter is going to be sultry. Well, she's sultry, but she's also kind of tough, and it turns out she's a pilot as well, although in this particular instance, she actually works for the president. And she actually ended up being lucky in that she was not in the same area as the president. That's all I'm saying about that. But she was very good. Sela Ward as president. We don't get a lot of her. And we don't get a lot of Vivica A. Fox. No. I mean, this is one of those things where, why was she in the movie if you were going to take her out like that? But gone. So you don't see much of her. You do see Judd Hirsch as Julius Levinson, who is David's father. You know what? You need some comic relief. He's the guy for it. And there was this new young lady. I had no clue who she was. It goes by Angelababy. I guess she's some Chinese pop star. And she plays a character named Rain Lao in this movie. Okay, I'm not mad that she's in this movie. She's pretty hot. And there's this other guy, and I'm going to mess this name up. I am just going to mess up both names. His real name is Diobia Operai, and he plays a character named Dikembe Butu. Then I just messed that up. Anyway, this cat's cool because they call him a warlord. They keep calling him a warlord, but it's his people who have fought most of the aliens by hand, and they kill him with machetes. And his one line, real big line in the movie, which comes back a couple of times, is you have to kill him from behind. Very good stuff. And he's this gigantic black man. By the way, neither of the two major black characters get killed in this movie. I, for one, am happy. A lot of folks are going to say, why did he have to say that? Really? Why did I have to say it? Okay. So, anyhow, you needed him, and they also had Robert Loggia in the movie. They did a tribute to the people from 20 years earlier. That's actually what was going on when the aliens showed up. And they had him as General Gray. Y'all remember he was the general in the first movie. The thing is that there has been what they call kind of canon. There have been like the stories written. So what has happened between 1996 and 2016? And he actually was elected president based on this story after President Whitmore left office. So he actually should have been Mr. President again, but, they changed up history. So, like I said, I read some of the canon coming in, and they just decided, okay, we're throwing that out. So he was general, and he was just in real brief, just to kind of wave, say, okay, yeah, I'm here. He didn't get to say a word, so we don't know if he got taken out as well, but most probably he did. So, I'm trying to see, did I miss anybody? Well, okay, let's talk about Brett Sanders' character for a minute. Dr. Brackish Oaken. I thought this was intriguing in the fact that turns out he was gay. And there was this other guy in the first movie where you saw that they kind of had a friendly relationship, but you didn't know that it was a little bit more serious than that. And so we basically had a gay couple in Independence Day Resurgence. And they kept calling each other baby and stuff, which was also intriguing because I've never called my wife baby. I'm not one of those people who has pet names for people. But there it was in the movie. And they had no problem with it. No one had any problem with it, which is the way we need to be going. I'm not saying we want to put, necessarily definitely have to have gay characters in every single movie. What I'm saying is if you have gay characters, it should just be, okay, you got a gay character in the movie and move on from there. So I actually enjoyed that. I actually enjoyed Bill Pullman in this movie. I wasn't sure where they were going to go with it, but he turned out to be a very integral part of this story. And, so does Brent Spiner. And I got to tell you, they actually used the line... I'm not going to even mess it up by telling you what the line is. But they actually used the line that made you say, hey, it's Data. That's all I'm going to say. And that was great stuff. So, that's where I'm going to go with this. I think this movie was fantastic. I had a good time. My wife had a good time. My friend Scott and my niece Crystal, we all just had a really wonderful time. The people... When the movie was over, the people in the theater, they applauded. I didn't applaud because I can't think of a movie I've ever applauded at. But it was fantastic. I walked out. I had a really good time. I think everyone else will have a good time. Now, there are a lot of the critics who are beating this movie up saying, well, we saw this in the original movie. Well, it's 20 years ago. So what? So you saw it. And some of them said, well, it didn't have a lot of humor like the first movie. Movies aren't, if you saw the same thing, why is it supposed to be, just like it was? You know what? We had aliens. We had stuff getting blown up. We had some pretty witty lines. We had some nice characters getting along with each other. And you know what? We got a sequel. We got a sequel set up. What more could you want? This is a fun movie. If you don't like these types of movies, don't go to this. I'm just telling you right now. If you're going in with the mindset that you just want to destroy this movie, you just want to review it and just beat it up, stay home. Go watch Tarzan next week. Yeah, I said it because I'm not going to see Tarzan. But this was fun. That's all I'm saying. If you go in with an open mind and you go in and you just have some fun, if you remember anything from the first movie, you will enjoy this movie. That's all I got. I'm out of here. Y'all have fun. And go see this movie if you like these type of movies. And then let me know your thoughts. Take care.